Alright guys, so one of my first tips for you is going to be to rebind your map keys. I recommend rebinding it to the tab key. That way you don't have to remove your fingers from the WASD keys while you're moving around. You're going to be using the mini-map quite a bit to tell where friendly units are and to try to range in enemy units. So to rebind that, it's easy. Just hit escape, go to settings, then controls, then the general tab, and you can see toggle map here. Just change it to tab. Change it to something else that's more comfortable for you. If you don't like tab, that's totally fine. All right, so the next tip I want to give is on ranging. Certain weapons in the game allow you to adjust your range to better hit targets at longer ranges. So those weapons are going to be basically your marksman rifles, your iron sights, and weapons like your anti-tank. So you can use binoculars to do your ranging. You just intersect 2 points here. You can see the bottom line at the feet of the target and where the top line is on the head. So it intersects here at the 4, and that means the enemy is 400 meters away. Likewise, here you can keep pulling it up. You can see that this is going to be less than 200 meters away. So it helps you adjust your aim. You can also use the mini map here. You can see on the bottom right of the map 33 meters and 100 meters. The 33 meters is going to be the smaller squares, and the 100 meters is going to be the large black outline squares. So you can use that to do some ranging as well if you have enemies marked on a map, or if you just know the general area of an enemy. So in this case, we're going to range up 400 meters. We've confirmed the target is 400 meters. We're going to pretend that giant billboard isn't there. I'm going to bipod up with my marksman rifle. I'm going to acquire my target, and I'm going to change to 400 meters. I'm going to make the shot. So how you change your ranging is, by default, you hold the X key, I believe it is, and then you cycle up on your mouse wheel and it will range your weapon. I've changed mine to the V key, but I do believe the X key is the default weapon. All right, next thing I want to talk about is making callouts. So bearings versus cardinal directions. You want to use cardinal directions as often as possible. If you'll look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see my bearing is set at 180. Now, if I'm to call out a target and I say, I got to contact 180, 180. Now, my allies around me, if they are within 5 meters, that will probably do them good. They'll be able to find the enemy. However, let's say my allies are 30 meters or so away, and I call 180, you can see here 180, I'm looking at a white truck or a blue Logi. That does me no good, because my partner over here, my battle buddy, basically called out 180, and he's looking at the left side of the building. I'm looking at a truck. We're not looking at the same thing. So whenever possible, you want to make sure to do your call outs with cardinal directions. And so it would sound something like this. I've got a contact northeast of me 10 meters, or I've got a contact southwest of Paladin 25 meters. Give your team points of reference. It's also important that you do these call outs on local chat channels instead of squad chat channels. You don't want to tie up the squad chat because if too many people are talking at one time on there, it really ties up things for the squad lead. It makes things hard for him to hear. But also, using the local chat channels will be more pertinent information to people directly around you. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is being in the bleed out state. There's a few things here that I want to mention. The first is the call medic button. Please don't use the call medic button. Enemies near can actually hear you calling out. That's going to alert them that there's most likely allies around. And if they know where your body is, they're going to most likely camp your body, wait for a medic or someone else to come by and pick you up. It's going to end up giving them a free kill. So please don't use the call medic button. Enemies can actually hear that. I believe it's somewhere around 25 to 30 meters away. Do your team a favor and instead use local chat to call out for help. See if your friends nearby can pick you up. So the second thing I want to mention is hitting the give up button. So if I hit the give up button quickly immediately after I die, I can see that I'm going to have a spawn timer. My spawn timer actually started at around 80 to 90 seconds because I killed myself. And so if I hit the give up button immediately, I still have a timer to wait on no matter what. So for the timer, you can see that it's ticking down. If instead you wait before you hit the give up button, give your team 60 to 90 seconds to try to pick you up, then hit the give up button if they can't make it to you. When you spawn in, it's actually going to be at 0 seconds when you get to the spawn screen. So you can select your spawn and spawn immediately. But no matter what, you're going to have to wait on a timer. Give your team 60 to 90 seconds to pick you up. That's going to be doing your team a huge favor. A lot of the times you're going to have teammates be able to get to you. And how that helps out the team is your team actually doesn't lose a ticket while you're bleeding out. Your team loses a ticket when you give up. Also, your kill death ratio is not affected unless you give up as well. So you can go down 10 times in a match, but as long as someone else picks you up, you have 0 deaths. Another thing I want to mention on here is kits. I won't spend too much time on this, but basically your last 3 kits at the bottom here, you can only have 2 of those per team if you have a full team. So 2 sappers or combat engineers, 2 heavy anti-tank, and then 2 heavy machine gunners per team, not per squad. So if one squad has 2 heavy machine gunners, they've taken up the heavy machine gunner spots for the entire squad. So if you're wondering why those are unavailable, yet there are none in your squad, most likely they have been picked by another player that's just not part of your squad. Now the middle row here is going to be support roles. You have a limited number of those roles available to you. I believe it is 4. So if you have 2 automatic riflemen, a grenadier, and a marksman, you're not going to have the option to pick the light anti-tank. Likewise, if you've got 1 of each, then they should all be unavailable to pick. Alright guys, one of the last tips I want to give you is that it matters where you hit enemy vehicles when you're playing anti-armor or if you're using a vehicle yourself. See this time and time again on public matches. Players are used to playing other games where it doesn't really matter where you hit the enemy vehicle as long as you hit it. In squad, if you hit a vehicle in the engine block or the tires or tracks, you do specific damage to those parts, which can disable the vehicle without blowing it up. In that case, it requires a crewman to actually fix the vehicle to get it back to being operational, and then they'll have to return to base to get fully repaired. Now, on assault vehicles, you can actually damage the enemy turrets so that they turn slower, and it makes it more difficult for them to see through the scope of their weapon. Now, also on vehicles, you'll notice on these models that the red sections here on the vehicle, they stand for the weakest point of the vehicle. So it's generally going to be on the back side here of a vehicle or on the top. So if you're playing anti-vehicle, then you're going to want to aim for those areas. This particular spot is out at Jensen's Range, and it's on the northeastern side. And what you're going to want to do is just come over here for a few minutes if you enjoy playing anti-vehicle. Just check out all the models that they have. They have every vehicle model in the game. You can check out all the weak points and the strong points of a vehicle. It'll really help up your gameplay if you just spend a few minutes checking it out.